All right, tell the YouTube people whatever it is you wanted to tell them this time.
Well, when I was a kid, I had 5 brothers, 5 sisters. My mother actually had 12 children, but one died as a baby. And we lived in the country, which I still like to live in the country. And we had, when I was very, very small, we didn't even have electricity. We had an outside toilet. We burnt oil lamps. And then when the electricity came through, that was a big deal because then we had electric lights and so forth. We never heard of TV. We never heard of computers. We didn't even have a telephone. No, we had a neighbor that had a telephone, so if we wanted to order something from the grocery store, well, we didn't go to the grocery store. The man came to our house. He delivered. So if we needed something, we'd go up to the neighbors and ask them to call the grocery guy and tell them what we needed. We had a garden in the summer that we raised a lot of things, and my mother canned a lot of things, and we never went hungry, not even during the Depression. I was born during the Depression in 1925, well, right before the Depression. The Depression was actually in 1929. And we didn't have a lot, but we never went hungry. We had a nice house, but we never had a bathroom. And my mother wasn't a very big lady, but she was a very strict lady. You knew have to listen when she spoke. And she didn't have to yell at you either. You knew you were going to get it if you didn't listen. So I remember one time I got with a stick, hickory stick or something, I don't know. That was not fun. She believed if you spoil the rod, you spare the rod, spoil the child. We had to go to church every Sunday. Oh, you didn't even dare miss church because even if you fell and broke your leg, you went to church. Maybe not that serious, but I never had a broken leg, but a bus ran over me one time. My dad owned a bus. It ran between McVeigh and Lewistown, and my brother-in-law was driving this bus up our driveway, and I went out and hung on, and I fell off, and the bus ran over both my legs, the dual wheels. And you'd have thought they would take me to the hospital or the doctor. Nope. We didn't go to the doctor or a hospital in those days. So nothing was broken, evidently. But I couldn't walk the rest of that day. My knee was out of joint. My brother carried me around, but it got all right. I can't say exactly all right because I think it gave me some trouble later on. I told my doctor about it one time. I had fell and sprained my ankle and they x-rayed my leg, and he said, you've got a little arthritis. I said, I'm lucky that I told him about the bus running over, and he thought that was kind of funny. And we kept a cow for milk, and we had some pigs and chickens, and like I said, we never went hungry. When I got older, we went to high school, and the high school was right here where I'm living now. Of course, they tore it down, but it was right here where these apartments are. That was our high school. My older brothers and sisters went to Lewistown High School because they would ride on the train to get to high school. My mother was always thought it very important that we go to school, finish school, and we did our laundry out on the back porch. Had to carry water for that, and of course we never heard of an automatic washer or dryer, the dryer was a clothesline out back. And we never heard of throwaway diapers. We never heard of paper towels, Kleenex, or even toilet paper. Our toilet paper was an old Sears and Roebuck catalog. Put it in the toilet, and you used it as toilet paper. And that might sound funny to you, but that's the way things were in those days. My mother had a big iron pot, and she used to call it her mush pot. And she would make a big pot full of mush, and if we didn't eat it while it was warm, it would set. And then you could slice it and cook it, fry it in a pan. And what else was some of the things she made? We had a big iron pancake grill. I guess they called them a pancake griddle. Of course, my mother cooked on a wood cook stove, and that's how we heated the kitchen. Then in the living room there was a heater, another big stove that burnt wood. The upstairs wasn't heated, so you had lots of things to bundle up in. My mom made what she called haps. Like she sewed patches together and put a filling in them, and nothing went to waste. If your clothes got old, and they cut them up and made something out of it. Mom used to make rugs. She'd make strips of material and fold it up and she'd crochet rugs, rag rugs we called them. And some people made them by braiding their material, but Mom crocheted with a big wooden needle. And when we took a bath, you had to take a bucket of water up to your room and wash with that. Of course, I think we washed our heads in the kitchen sink. It was nothing like, I couldn't even imagine what it would be like for our young people today to have to live like we did. I don't think they'd know how. And to not have a telephone, a TV, computer. Could you imagine what it would be like? Well, we didn't miss them because we never heard of them. When I was in high school, I remember our science teacher telling us at some time, excuse me, there would be a radio that you could see pictures on. Because we knew what a radio was. So, and that came true. And then later on in life, they told us they're going to have television that you can see the person you're talking, or a telephone that you can see the people you're talking to. And we thought that was kind of funny. Well, now they do have your iPods and things like that, and you can see people that you're talking to. We always had a camp. My whole family, we all liked to camp. And my dad built a camp out of old chestnut logs, because by then the chestnut trees had all died from the blight, but the logs lasted a long time. Chestnut was really a good wood. It didn't rot up real quick. And so we had a cabin. And then when my sister was she was 10 years younger than I, she was about 5 years old. My dad decided he wanted to go and live with another woman. So that was a very disturbing thing in our family, and very upsetting for my mother and all of us. And my mother managed, gave her the house, and he sent her money. My mother knew how to manage on a very little bit. And when the kids got old enough to work, we paid board. And hard, but we managed. Anything you want to ask me?
I got nothing. This is pretty much all about you.
So one of the worst things that happened in our childhood was when the war came. And my brother was at Pearl Harbor when they attacked over there. And that was Merle, we called him what. And he told us later, he said, I literally got caught with my pants down. I was in the bathroom. But we didn't hear from him for a while, so we worried about him. And then my other brother, before he even finished high school, he enlisted. He was in the European theater war, and he kept writing home. He would write to Mom, and he'd write to me. And after the war, my brother that was next younger than me, that's Bob, he went into the occupation army. He was over in Germany. And my brother Sam he was in the Korean War. So that was 4 of my brothers. And of course my husband's brothers, and that was later on. And it was when the war ended, there was a big celebration in Lewistown on the square, and everybody went. I remember my sister and her husband, and they took some of us along when we were down there and stood on the square and cheered. And it was really a wild night that night. And one of the happiest times that we had was when all the war was over and all the guys came home. And there were some that never made it home too. I remember we had a neighbor, not a close neighbor, but a person that we knew that never came home. When we were children, small, we sat up at the table. My mother had this large kitchen table that had leaves on the side. Well, you put them up, and there was 10 of us, 11 of us at the table at one time. Can you imagine my poor mother cooking every day for that many people? And like I said, we may not have eaten fancy, but we did. We always had something to eat. Something she canned in the basement. We had potatoes that we grew, and sometimes our meal consisted of potatoes, canned tomatoes, and applesauce. We didn't always have meat with every meal like we do now. And we always got protein because we had eggs. Every morning we had eggs for breakfast. And then they started to tell us that eggs weren't good for you. Now they're saying eggs are good for you. Anyway, our thing to do, to have fun, was to go camping with somebody. And we used to go up to Mountain Inn. And we didn't own that camp. The people that owned it left us use it. And in the evening we'd have a weenie roast. And we'd always take marshmallows and make s'mores and play card games and tell stories. I don't know, there's just something about camping that we always liked. I still do. And also when I was a kid, our swimming pool was a dam that we built down at the creek. We said creek, of course. Now we say creek. And we would get down there, had walk down across the farmer's field and build this dam. And all the kids in the neighborhood, about every afternoon during the summer when school was out, would be down there at the swimming pool. It was a good way to cool off. We had to do our work before we went. My mother made us work. Sometimes it was just to scrub the wall, scrub the porch, dig some weeds out of the yard, and mow the yard. The boys had to cut wood, and there was always something to do. And the girls always had to do the dishes. Since we were old enough, Mom didn't do the dishes, we had to do the dishes. Then when we fight over whose turn it was to do the dishes. And we always took turns. It's your turn to wash, my turn to dry, or I think most of us, I don't know, I think we'd like to dry better than wash, I don't know. And we never heard of a dishwasher. And we're running out of things to say. I guess that's about it. After I'm done talking here, I'll probably think of some things to say later on. That's about it.
All right then.